Hey, this is Gene. I just need to talk about something really quick, maybe. Um, I watched Steven Crowder's little 30, 40 minutes tide raid against Tucker Carlson. He basically says, because everybody's saying that he's not MAGA now, and I said in my video earlier today that he's not MAGA because he allowed to talk to Nick and all people like that, and talk to other people in the past, went to Russia, all that stuff. He's not MAGA. But Stephen, as he is, he's always been, he has to play both sides of it. He won't take really a full stance on any of them because let's just be honest here. He's upset with Tucker because they came from the same cloth. They're both libertarians who got big in their chosen fields. They did pass each other at Fox News. They worked together, probably had a good relationship. But now, because he doesn't want to say that you can't call him anti-MAGA, like a lot of people on the right, especially the Jews, are doing that. And we'll talk about that as well, how he defends that. He's just skeptical because some of the people he has on his show, he somehow says, you know what? I think Sharia law might be a good thing. So he puts out clips just like Ben Shapiro, and he basically said, I'm not like Ben Shapiro, but he did the same shit. And he shows this is what Tucker said. So he basically, one little context about, well, if everything looked like Abu Dhabi, that'd be great in the United States. If we go there, it was clean all the time, and there's no rape known, everybody has money, maybe Sharia law would be okay. Now, again, he's laughing at the idea of Sharia law. Of course, someone in the Western world would never accept Sharia law with a Islamic state defending it. Their culture can do stuff like that. In there are certain cities they can do that. And there's a good point on there that says there are other cities that are just not like that. But the problem is where they're not like that in the third world of the Muslim world, it's like that. Not good. But it's also in the first world in the Western culture where they come here and they try to take over things. But he says, I'm not going to say he's anti-MAGA, but why would he go to Putin and talk about a grocery store in Russia and saying, look how great it is, and they only paid $100 and we get all this stuff, and then they go into this, well, and we talks about there's corruption. Would you just, as somebody that's a citizen in that country, would you just not take the corruption so everything could be given to you? And again, it's just the way you look at it. You have to make a characterization of it all. You compare capitalism versus communism or socialism or whatever you want to call it in Russia. But that's all Tucker is doing. He says, they care about their country. They clean up the streets. They clean up the trains and all that stuff. And this idea that those guys on that show sat there and said there's no real corruption in our country. Have they looked at our train systems? Have they looked about the deep state? There's a good critique that's going on now in the West of how we rule. Doesn't mean we should be socialists, all right? But the idea he's like, well, he'll never come on my show. I'm like, why wouldn't Tucker Carlson go on your show? You guys are basically the same fucking thing. I mean, seriously. It's like they came from the same political background. They're both libertarians. And both of them came later to the game. And I think that Tucker was on board a little bit before Steven Crowder when they talk about demographic change, anti-white type stuff. He talked about it. But again, he did it from a colorblind meritocracy. He says that if you're a citizen of this country, we should defend that. Regardless of what you look like, you should not be using your identity or your group think to rule the day in America, because we're all Americans under God, all that stuff, the individual and all that. And he says this all the time. He said that to Nick. And you, as an older person, you might say that's something that we're used to. But again, when he was born, when I was born, the country was almost 90% white. Okay, it is fundamentally has changed. So we can sit there and be, what's the word I'm looking for? Kumbaya about it, or we will tell our white people to have babies and get in powers of influence to remember what we were and what Western culture is. I have to have a beer because of this. It's just, I'm sitting there listening to it, and he starts about it, and he's smug, And I defended him with the whole thing with divorce and all that shit as a man to a man. I did, but he's so smug, and he has Gerald, his sidekick, basically parenting him. They don't really have any disagreements, but it's like this idea: I'm so strong on the right that he wouldn't want to come on my show because I don't know why. Why? Even if he went on there and he made Tucker look like a fool, which he wouldn't do, because he would allow Tucker to talk, and Tucker would eventually get to the point. He's just a dude that wants the country to be better. But he sees where the right is going, and that's why Nick is on the fucking team, or is on the show. It's not that he's not anti-MAGA, but we have to be skeptical. I'm like, skeptical. Can I be skeptical? I'm sorry, I can't say the word after my stroke. I'm sorry. Can I be a skeptic about the Holocaust, the story of the Holocaust? Will we talk about that? If I'm on your show, we have that conversation, even though it was something that was done every 30, 40 years ago on morning TV in this country. We talked about it. We had revisionists on there. We talk about why there's no possible way that many died in the camps. Do you not believe what the Red Cross said when they went to the camps and said about around 300,000 people died in the camps? Most of them died because they didn't have food. And the real reason why they died is because we bombed down the supply lines. Again, it was wrong for doing what he did, right? You don't do shit like that. It's a war crime, but we did the same shit. But anyway, can I be skeptic on that? So you're going to be skeptic on him. Somebody who's been in our, it's one of those things that you do. It's like, well, really, you're really somebody that's like a foreign actor, and we have to be skeptic for you because you're really trying to do something by changing the thing. All Tucker really is, he's just like a sounding board, somebody that's a little bit older than the young generation. Some things I do as an old man when I talk to a younger man, and then he listens as an older man. I listen to what the other man will say, the young man. And we work it out and say, oh, this is an interesting way, and that might be the way forward. And we have to understand where we were when we grew up in the 60s and the 70s and how it is right now on the ground. You can't sit there and say to a young, disaffected white man that, well, can't be Nick or Tucker to be the leader because we have to be skeptic of them because, their background might something else, But we should. But wait a second. 2 weeks ago or two days ago, I said there has to be a litmus test to be in the right wing or the MAGA. And I said earlier today, what is America first? Is MAGA America first? It should be. I mean, Trump is the one who termed that. And he said always America first. So it should be the same thing. And I'm sorry, Steven Crowder. The leader of the America first is not you. You can sit there and take what Nick started and whether people supported him or not really supported or just talked about anti-white stuff and demographic change like Mark Dice and even Tucker. You can't sit there and now say you're the leader of America first. And then you say, oh, well, it's just not the Jews. We can't always talk about the Jews. It has to be something else. We have to look inside. We have to make sure of this. We have to have a litmus test on the right wing. Sorry, are you sure that you would be the one that would be allowed if there was a really right-wing side of political stuff in the United States? You're Canadian. Like I said, you were basically a classical liberal like myself, or even further to the left as a libertarian. You didn't really care much about drugs in your Fordham years. You were forced to even discuss the issue that's going on in this country by a kid in his fucking basement. Now, I'm not saying you didn't have honor and to do that. I think you realize there's a problem with young men, but at the same time, you would say there's a problem with young men, like even Tucker would do. You would then joke about them, and you would say, "Stoll, you're in the basement, eating Cheetos and shit." You didn't understand what was really happening with young men who don't have the money that you had as a young man, who was a drama kid like you are. It's like when I see all these politicians that were former trauma kids, and then I find out that you are as well. It's just you would definitely be on Disney Plus if you were a kid now. You'd be trying to be in all this shit. You would, and there has been some skeptics about your own sexuality. Stephen. Same shit that happens to Nick Fuentes. But you sit there and say, I'm not going to put that, we're not going to knock out people because of platforming other people. Again, as Nick said, he doesn't need to be platformed. He has his own platform. Now, 3 or 4 years ago, when there was an opportunity, you could have done that. You didn't do it. And still today, you won't do it. There is no way. I could be wrong, but there is, you talk about, or talking to Tucker, you won't ever have Nick Fuentes on because he will destroy you. He'll do it right to your face. Even though you're 6, 7 inches taller than him, he will destroy you intellectually, and you know this, so you won't have him on there. Oh, you have problems with Ben Shapiro saying what he has to say and all that stuff. But are you saying that are you skeptic about them? These are American people that put Israel first. Are you skeptic of them? Skeptical of them? But you say that word for Tucker, who always said that he wants to make sure it's best for United States citizens. He doesn't care. He's one of those colorblind people, right? Anybody can be a citizen. That's how he is. He's milquetoast when it comes to that. But he understands about demographic change. And so does he. Stephen does. But I'm sitting there and I'll listen to the first half of it. And then I just listened to the transcript. And of course, these guys they want to have their jokes during it, which is fine. But it's always this. It's like, well, I really don't know. I don't really like what Mark Levin does, and I don't really like what he likes, or really likes that. But I've had all these people on my show, but you haven't had Nick Fuentes. He is the leader of the far right in America First. You can't now later on say that you're a party of this. It's the same. It's all these guys have done this. Have used this America First thing, saying that they've taken away from Nick. And what happens is that wait a second. The people that actually have been America First since day one understand this, and that's why they're supporting him now. You've lost the debate, Stephen. You can sit. I don't understand how somebody can sit there. Now Nick can say it about Tucker, and Tucker said it about Nick, right? And they sat down and they squashed that beef. It doesn't even mean that Tucker doesn't have some intel stuff on us. He may do that. But I think he's a clear patriot, an American that wants it better for the United States. And then you sit there and talk about his fly fishing, like somehow you're doing something about his manhood, like he didn't do this before. There are videos of him when he was in Central Park 10 years ago, and a homeless person came up and talked to him, and Tucker just talked to him like a normal man. I mean, this idea that, what are you trying to say, because he grew up with wealth, that he didn't have these type of characteristics, that he'd like to go out with his dogs and hunt and go fishing? These are very low jibes against the man who basically paved the way for you. You came from the same fucking side of the right wing, which is not really the right wing. And now you want to claim shit that you had nothing to do, that you're America First? Look, the question is, will we allow you in? I may not be around, but you may have to make a stand, Stephen. You have to make a stand what side you're on. If you can't see the problem that is right now, it is the people that are directing our foreign policy happen to be from the same fucking tribe. And if you're not going to do anything about it other than just somewhat joke about it, you're not useful. You can be the clown jester, because that's where you are right now. Even when Nick was just being a troll back then, he was more funny than you have ever been. His intellect is so much higher than yours. I don't think you even understand what he's talking about. And you know you will never put him on your show. You would think, I'm all about free speech. No, you're not. And two days ago, or whatever it was, you put that fucking video out, you said there's going to be a litmus. And I thought you were talking about Nick, and I thought maybe you were talking about Candace. I think you were talking about both of them. Even though there's been 5 million people watch that, and it doesn't mean that it's the right word or right thing. You can have your opinion. And certainly Nick will listen to that, or I will listen to it, or anybody in America First. But we also know your background, Stephen. You were not never Trump, but you were kind of close to that. You were weren't you a Cruz fan 10 years ago? Or Rand Paul? That's who you were. You were like a libertarian. You're not on the right wing. And now you've said, oh, well, how can this work? I see where the young men are going to. I'm going to go do that. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to disparage them. I'm not going to talk about real solutions for young men. We're not going to do that at all. We're just going to sit, it's really, and I have enough money so I can go with this divorce and lose all this money, but I'm not really going to have a real show about how it'd be better for young men. You do talk about it. You put that information out there, but has it done anything? If you have so much influence on the right, you would think maybe that something would have changed, that it hasn't changed. And why wouldn't disaffected young white men not be drawn to Nick Fuentes? Why wouldn't they? They've been blamed for everything. And you talk about it now, but you knew about it 5 years ago. You didn't say anything about it. And now you want to co-opt the actual term that you're America first. It's insipid and it's wrong. And again, you can criticize. I criticize Tucker. I've criticized Nick, and I've criticized Crowder. But the words, it's like he knows what he's doing when he says, I can be skeptical about him. What the fuck does that mean? I mean, seriously, that means, oh shit, we really got to understand, maybe there's something going on in the background. Steven Crowder has all these people on Rumble. He's skeptic of Tucker. What does that actually mean? What the fuck does that mean? Ask him on your show. And then you can come back the next day and say he won't do it. Because of course Tucker will do it. Why wouldn't he? Now, he might have it where you come on his and he goes on yours or something like that. But why wouldn't you do it? If we're supposed to be the party of free speech, why wouldn't you have that? And then, hell, why have a fucking panel? Put Dave Smith back on there, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and yourself. And you guys can just hash it all out. I'm just skeptical that you're actually America first. I don't think you understand what America first actually means. I'll leave it right there. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Am I being over harsh on him? It seems like he came out, again, straddling the line. He doesn't want to alienate the young white man that watches show, because you look in the comments and it's all America first. Now the question is it America first, Steven Crowder viewpoint, or America first with the guy that actually started the whole fucking movement, or at least the guy that took what Trump said and took it to the next level? And I said in my video this morning, we got to get Trump back. And if he's not going to do it, then we got to get guys that are similar to if Fuentes is not going to run, we got to find people like him and run and really do what America first means. Stop immigration. If you're going to immigration at all, it will be from white countries, and we're going to give money from the government for people to have babies and deport as many people as we can. The first time that you do something, I don't care if you're walking across the street, if you're illegal, you get gone. It's got to fucking stop. And they want to take this very easy way to do shit. And before they know it, this country will be minority white, and our viewpoint will be gone. And if we lose the midterms, and he said that in his thing as well, he said, if you're not going to be, helping Trump, again, Trump is not as bad as everybody says, right? The Jews don't have so much influence in foreign policy or our government at all. He basically said that. He said, you can't blame the Jews. You know what? I agree with you. But we got to have enough people on the right that says, well, we got to vote that shit out and get people in here America first, not people that have dual citizenship and put Israel first. That's it. That's what America first is, Stephen. Anyway, I'm going to stop right now. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you all later.